and you guys are developing a tactical unit to fight these cartels that I wasn't even fully aware of. He goes, this is really important because conservation was his thing. That's what that company is based on, and public safety. So I got to go to that with other industry insiders. Don Sr. addressed the whole group. I recently heard from my DA partners that 74,000 Americans are dying annually from overdoses from these dirty pills.
That almost seems low.
Yeah, and it almost seems low, and I'm thinking that's 200 dudes a day.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy.
And how many while we're sitting here talking, brother?
Yeah.
And that blows my mind. And
you have people who are straight up just like they buy fentanyl now.
Yeah.
Like literally, like it's not laced with anything. Nope. They're not, they skipped over heroin. It's like, oh yeah, I need fentanyl to get high.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, exactly. And and the aftermath of that is, I mean,
it's horrible.
Exponential. But that second hearing was getting into our experiences working with tribal nations, and our Met team right out of the gate, right in Operation Pristine, got that invite letter from some tribes in Northern California and in Central California, and said, hey, we're overwhelmed with these cartel grows on our tribal lands, and even ones that aren't active that are out there with water diversions and poisons everywhere, and their river, like the Feather River and all the different rivers up in Northern California, they're like, we're getting to a point where so much of our water is being tapped, we're about to turn on our water faucet and we're just getting drips. We don't even have cooking and bathing water right now. California was in its most massive drought. So that really set a precedent. And then why did that continue? Why was it so exacerbated for them? Well, a couple of BIA cops aren't going to go out and, handle all of this and take down a big cartel grow safely. And they're trying. They're not doing reclamation. They didn't have the resources. So we went in and we raided grows, but more importantly, we went and cleaned up grows with them. Ones that have been in there for 10 years, still pulling water because the diversion's there. So we did a lot of work with them, and it was kind of a unifying thing where traditionally these tribal nations don't want to work with, domestic police or federal agencies because the history of America and how things have settled out for them.
Yeah.
But to be one of the first agencies invited back, and we're bringing in the air cavalry, not the cavalry. We're bringing in the airships from the military, right?
The airships?
The big Blackhawks,
yeah.
And we're pulling out, 4, 5, 6,000 pounds per net of trash off these tribal lands and getting it pristine, and then studying the damages really helped mend fences and, unify those groups with us and with law enforcement in general. And it was, that was definitely a highlight, I think, of my career pre and post-operational, is getting to testify next to some tribal leaders and tell our story that, we absolutely love and respect everything you guys are up against. We feel your pain because we've always been so light as far as personnel as game wardens covering big stretches. And now you guys are even worse case than us. So, and again, that unifying, take away that divisiveness, So that was really good. Now, I have even more hope now with the recent election. Just a couple of days ago, this is perfect timing. We talked about having this conversation after this election went one way or the other. And I know right now with where the border policy was going before the change and where it's going to go back to, I know how these cartels are viewed currently. I hope there's follow through.
Well, you spent time with Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. Back in 2016. And how did that come about? Like, how did you get to meet them?
It was kind of random and perfectly timed. One of the trade shows I go to almost every year is the SHOT Show in Vegas. It's the world's largest trade show for military, law enforcement, conservation, weaponry, the tactical community. Big show.
Sounds right up Don Jr.'s alley.
It totally is. And Don Sr. too is a 2A. He's a Second Amendment pro guy, Don Jr.'s a big hunter, avid conservationist. One of Don Jr.'s closest friends was the now deceased, sadly, CEO and founder of KUIU, what I'm wearing today. And basically Outlight, ultralight, outdoor hunting apparel and gear like that. And Jason Hairston, who was that founder, had hunted many times with Don Jr. They were good friends. And Jason was hosting something for the Trumps that were going to be at SHOT Show in 2016 and wanted to invite about 50 or 60 people from the industry. So he was really, Jason was doing a lot of work with us. We were using his equipment. We were helping him develop a tactical line of clothing to replace the heavy battle gear that our military uses now with better materials. He was working with the DevGru SEAL Team 6 guys as well on that project a little bit. And he invited me and said I could bring one of my special operator friends. And I brought a SEAL Team 1 buddy of mine that I do a lot of work with, Jared Ogden.
Is this before that election in 2016?
It's right. It's January when he was elected that November. He was just getting ready to start hitting the country.
Beginning of 2017.
2016, the start of his campaign.
Wait. I misheard you. So this is when he's still in the primaries.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, that trade show's like late January. So Jason wanted me there, obviously, because of this book wasn't out, but Hidden War was. And when Jason met me at Kuyu, when I was introduced to him, he's like, "You're a game warden, you're a hunter, you're right here in my backyard in California, and you guys are developing a tactical unit to fight these cartels I wasn't even fully aware of." He goes, "This is really important," because conservation was his thing. That's what that company's based on, and public safety. So I got to go to that with other industry insiders. Don Sr. addressed the whole group of the support he was getting for the campaign. The whole family was there. And specifically, Don Jr. and Jason and I had a conversation where I was able to put a book in Don Jr.'s hands, as well as some documentary videos that we had on DVD at the time from Wild Justice and some of the things we were seeing. And I got to tell a short story about what we were doing. And the look of shock on Don Jr.'s face, he looked at Jason and went, "John's a game warden in California, and they're fighting cartels from Mexico, putting the most wretched poisons on cannabis and killing our wildlife. How do I not fucking know about this? And why does my dad not know?" And that night we had conversations with Don Sr., and he got wind of it. And I thought, okay, if he does get elected, is our little hidden war going to get represented? I mean, on national policy, there's so many things going on. But right after he did, he put it on Sessions, Jeff Sessions at the time, who was his first AG, and said, "Look, I'm aware of this thing the cartels are doing on weed, not just this other stuff. And we have solid data and, people we know that are fighting this, like in the Silicon Valley of all places, and other parts of the country. I want this to be a priority. I don't want you to look at it as, a U.S. attorney not doing a weed case. Look at the poisons, look at the environmental stuff." And they were funded several $1 million for Operation Forest Watch, where now the U.S. Forest Service, their LEOs that we were working with, Fish and Wildlife, all those federal agencies have this money, and of course we're working with them. And we went to town. We worked a ton of cartel grows. Reclamation was encouraged.
Because you're still in it at this point.
Yeah, still in it. I'm really in the prime.
Yep.
This is like the prime time before I'm going to, retire in late 2018 and hope it continues with great people, and thank heaven it did, and it's improved since.
So you knew you were coming up on retirement.
Yeah,
You were ready.
I was ready. I mean, basically, I worked 28, but with time I had earned, had a 30-year career jacket, and you're maxed out at 30 years. You're not. You're going to lose money to continue to work, and more importantly, can you do more for the thin green line outside of work? And I had this book deal pending with the second publisher, with Gun Digest and Recoil, the Caribou book side, knowing that it wasn't going to come out till after I retired, and that I might have stayed on a little longer if there was a real need to, but there were great people behind me. I knew the lieutenant that was going to replace me. I knew the development, all the right people that had the right mindset, and were so supportive of what we all did collectively. It wasn't my team. It wasn't anybody's team. I was just very blessed to co-found it, lead it, develop it, be around some of the best people, man, I've ever worked with that are brothers and sisters for life.
But for this point, it seems like the takeaway is Trump got it on this.
Trump got it. Yeah. He absolutely got it, and he implemented right away. And I heard about it through back channels from the Forest Service. They're like, "Hey, we're doing this Operation Forest Watch, and we have a bunch of money and time and resources. You guys want to come help?" And I went. And then I started to have back communications with, so they got it. They were passionate about it. And
what was that conversation like when you were telling them at the time? Because this is before he's president.
Yeah,
he's not even the nominee yet at that point, but he's still Donald Trump. He's like the celebrity apprentice and everything. Like, what was he like? Did it feel more like, oh, this is good for our campaign, let's run with this, or did it feel like he was interested in the substance of what was happening?
Honestly, it was the substance of what was happening. I don't think the campaign had anything to do with it. And this is what gave me a good vibe on that family is Don Jr., of course, connected instantly because of the connection with Kuyu and the hunting and how outraged he got. But when I started talking to his dad, Don Sr., it was like, yeah, my son, man, I can hardly keep him around. He's out hunting, running around in the woods so much. It's just beautiful. And he goes, and this is unacceptable. This is a travesty. This is horrible.
It's terrible. We're going to stop it right away.
We're going to stop it. We're going to make it huge.
Stop everything.
We're going to stop it huge. Huge, big. It's going to be huge. Huge. And you know what? He followed through like immediately upon election. And so, I mean, biasedly, that being my passion, I'm like, man, what an opportunity. And let's hope it continues. And things with the wall, let's take the wall, for instance, and border control, right after that, Julian. So not long after that, I retire. And then I'm producing and hosting a film series I do periodically called The Thin Green Line for Recoil TV and my YouTube channel. We're doing the pilot film down on the very unprotected Southwest Texas, Mexico border, the most remote. Like Calendaria is a little town there that's cartel run, and you meet your outfitters, you're going to go onto this ranch in Texas, and they come in, side by sides and assault rifles, and man, don't get there after dark by the little church under that light. It's a weird little town. I'm like, okay, I'm not even operational, and here I am down here with Marcos, as he's called in the book. One of my close guys, fellow snipers on the team, and we're going down to do this outad sheep hunt on this 50,000 acre beautiful Texas ranch. I didn't know there were canyons as big in Texas, like many Grand Canyons in Texas ever. And we're talking about the ethics of long range hunting, when you do, when you don't, because we're long range shooters. We're both snipers, precision riflemen. We shoot far, but we shoot close if we get as close to the animal. Humane shots if you're going to take an animal for harvest. But at the same time we're down there, we're watching, while we're hunting a pristine sheep in a canyon, 5 miles across the canyon on another part of the ranch, are 15 traffickers coming through with 100-pound bags of processed marijuana with, carbofuran on them, meth, fentanyl, you name it, and trafficking people.
Watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.